Welcome back to the Game Collection. I am SuperDerek, and this is Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance. Dream Drop Distance was originally released on the 3DS and included in the Kingdom Hearts 2.8 remaster for PlayStation 4, which is how I played the game. Dream Drop Distance is not only a tongue twister of a title, but also a clever way of sneaking 3D into the title whilst simultaneously making me groan every time I think about it. As such, I'll just refer to it as Kingdom Hearts 3D from this point forward. Kingdom Hearts 3D advances the series' story forward from where Kingdom Hearts 2 left off. Sora and Riku, while relaxing on the Destiny Islands, received a message in a bottle from Yen Sid. Cut to a younger-looking version of the duo sitting off on a raft into the ocean, only to encounter Ursula, who dashes their vessel to pieces, sending them to the murky depths below. Upon waking in Traverse Town, Sora and Riku find themselves separated from each other in alternate but parallel realities. At a later point, it is revealed that Sora and Riku were sent out by Yen Sid to complete their Mark of Mastery, a sort of coming-of-age test and ritual performed by Keyblade wielders of yore to test their mettle and solidify them as bona fide Keyblade masters. Kingdom Hearts 3D follows both Sora and Riku on their examinations and the interventions of competing forces to spoil their chances. The story of Kingdom Hearts 3D feels like the fever dream of the series, and while I would have expected this to have led to a lot of confusion during my playthrough, most of the questions the series raised seem to get answers by the end of the title, more or less, making this the second game in the series to actually feel like I knew exactly what transpired by the time the credits scrolled. The decision to follow the Mark of Mastery exam of Riku and Sora felt like a solid choice on the heels of Birth by Sleep, as it draws upon the lore established in the previous title to help give this exam more weight. There was a trippy head-turning plot twist which almost felt like a fanfic mashup of the who's who of Kingdom Hearts villainy, but while I feel like Kingdom Hearts writers of days past would have just left us hanging, the writers of 3D have our backs and gave us a proper explanation. Kingdom Hearts 3D is probably the best storytelling within the Kingdom Hearts game so far, after Birth by Sleep that is. That said, without the context of previous games, it would be a lot harder to follow as opposed to Birth by Sleep, which was far more self-contained. Some of the mechanics from Birth by Sleep make a return in Kingdom Hearts 3D, though in my opinion, not enough of them. Spells with cooldown timers instead of MP are back, the command deck is back, and so are abilities, sort of. Sadly, abilities have been nerfed. In Birth by Sleep, if commands with abilities were sufficiently leveled, those abilities became permanent enhancements of your hero. Not so in this game, where instead abilities are tied to Dream Eaters. These sometimes adorable and usually annoying companions are like if Pokemon were limited to a neon color palette. They're like if Donald and Goofy had an intimacy mode. Actually, that just sounds wrong. Okay, it'd be like if you used your Nintendogs to fight other dogs. Wait. Okay, well, point is, you pet these animals to increase their morale and get them to like you more, and that in turn makes them more powerful when fighting other Dream Eaters by your side. Anyway, putting a Dream Eater in your party to fight alongside Sora or Riku allows those Dream Eaters to gain levels and link points, which can be expended to unlock abilities. However, if you decide to switch out your Dream Eaters, the new companions will have no abilities from the start, requiring leveling them up to become useful. This disincentivizes the use of many Dream Eaters because doing so puts you at a pretty stark disadvantage while you wait for your newly assembled Dream Eater to get good. Certain kinds of abilities do stick with you permanently, but these are uncommon and the exceptions to the rule. The mechanics that I really missed the most was the command melding, being able to fuse magic and attacks together to get new and creative outcomes. I really would have liked to see this series iterate upon that moving forward, but what we got instead was something equally broken: flow motion. Flow motion in Dream Drop Distance is essentially the ability to grind on rails, jump off walls, swing around poles, and otherwise fling yourself around a stage at high speeds. Attacking mid-flow allows Sora and Riku to deal devastating blows to enemies within an area, and is ripe for abuse. This isn't a complaint though, it's a lifesaver. Especially during in-game enemies, there are some circumstances where cheesing large groups of powerful enemies by rapidly spamming ground-slamming attacks was the only way I could manage to progress the game forward. It was kind of fun, but it felt kinda cheap, so I avoided it when I could get by without it. Another mechanic introduced is the drop mechanic. Riku and Sora have a drop meter. This is sort of like an hourglass that counts down to when Sora or Riku, pass out, I guess? And the player controls the other protagonist for a while. It's okay though, whilst passed out or suspended or whatever, Riku and Sora don't come to any harm, even during boss fights, which is probably the worst case scenario by the way. When dropping between Sora and Riku, their health stays the same, but bosses fully regenerate. Sucks to be the hero sometimes. This was probably devised to show that Riku and Sora are fighting throughout these stages at the same time, or something like that, but what it really amounted to was a severe annoyance which could only be mitigated by using consumable items to extend the duration of the timer. Problem is, using items takes up a command slot, so you'd be giving up a powerful attack slot in order to keep a drop-me-not handy. This wouldn't be so bad if you could just consume items from the menu, but I didn't see a way to do that, and by throwing consumable items into the command deck, it just makes it all too easy to accidentally use these items. The bottom line is that the gameplay within Dream Drop Distance is an iteration of Birth by Sleep, but it's also not quite as good. It's not bad by any means, and the Dream Eaters are a novel concept, but it felt kind of out of place in a Kingdom Hearts game. The worlds within Kingdom Hearts are a really interesting selection. Traverse Town makes a return, and it's actually greatly expanded upon while omitting some of the iconic locations previously featured. Symphony of Sorcery was my favorite world and was inspired by Fantasia. This world has everything from gigantic golden forests to frigid snowscapes, gorgeous meadows, and grinding on rainbows within clouds. These were accompanied by music lifted straight from Fantasia, and it was just drop-dead gorgeous from start to finish. Other worlds included the Grid from Tron Legacy, the world from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Prankster's Paradise from Pinocchio, and a lot more. These worlds were some of the most impressive and expansive to date. However, the absence of NPCs just hanging out within these worlds really made them feel empty. The scene from the Festival of Fools, for instance, didn't feel anything like a festival. It was stark and barren. Dream Drop Distance was a good-looking game from start to finish, indistinguishable from many other entries in the HD remake, though more impressive in its pre-rendered cutscenes and world scope and scale. The Dream Eaters that you fight against and alongside are really varied, compared to the Heartless, nobodies and unversed seen in games past. This was a welcome change and their designs felt mostly really good. Musically, Kingdom Hearts 3 was some of the best work to date. Of course, the symphony featured within 3D was fantastic, but even Utada Hikaru's theme for KH3D Passion was a standout which featured surprisingly aggressively enforced copyrights. But seriously, each of the worlds has their own sets of songs, most of which were fantastic, making this a surprisingly expansive score, featuring what may be the best song in any video game ever. And I'll just let that play for you for a moment. Dream Drop Distance was a fun experience overall. There was plenty to do, which is perfect for long road trips where you might have very little else to do, plenty of stuff to sink your teeth into. However, it doesn't really have enough for me to dig into with Kingdom Hearts 3 just around the corner. I have very few bad things to say about the game, but I also have very few great things to say about it either. It's not as good as Birth by Sleep or Kingdom Hearts 2, making it a perfectly average game in the series, and as a result it's earned itself a perfectly average spot in the game collection. And before I go, I'd like to send a huge thank you to both Nick Stinchcomb and to David Ridgely, who are both new patrons of mine over on patreon.com, and a huge thank you to all of my patrons as well, who really without their support would make this so much harder to do. So thank you all so much. As you can see, I'm currently in the middle of a change in scenery. I'm currently redoing an entire studio down here, so I'm really excited with the way it's coming out, and that would not be possible without their support. So thank you all so much for your support, and even if you're not a supporter on Patreon, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Have a good day, everyone.